Hey guys, this is Citra here again, and this is going to be my third tutorial, and by request I will be looking at automation and some of the ways you can trigger runes remotely with that. Now this was a bit interesting because I didn't exactly intend to do the tutorial the way it turned out. Halfway through I learned a couple of interesting things about damage sensors, which I figured I would exploit and come up with some neat tricks for that. So the initial footage is a bit disjointed. I'll give you a rundown of the scenario I have. I've got this stone teleport rune in the middle of the room, which links to our first waypoint in the bottom left. I've automated that, and the signature of that automation is forward and plank blocks. That's not very important because I don't actually use this much, beyond demonstrating a few interesting things I've learned. There's a bug with damage sensors, or at least I think it's a bug, in that if you strike them with a block, and not a tool or your hands, then they do not trigger, and you can destroy or vandalize the damage sensor. I think that's a bug. I don't know if it's a bug. I know Super Llama sometimes watches this channel, so if you see this, perhaps you could enlighten me. I'd be quite curious to know. The second thing I learned, which I already had an inkling about but discovered for sure, is that block sensors have persistence in the same way that teleport runes have persistence. But you have to access it a different way. You can't smash a damage sensor block, because if you do that, the damage sensor is destroyed. But if you use a piston, then the damage sensor, it's not there. You can put a block back, and that'll work. But the space is still a damage sensor, even though there's nothing there. In much the same way that teleport runes work. So I figured I could come up with something useful involving that. Now, as I was playing with this further, I accidentally discovered that it doesn't need to be a trigger block when you form a damage sensor, which meant that I just scrapped the initial tutorial I was going to do about that and moved on directly to implementing a security system idea that I'd come up with to protect a very valuable rune. Say if you had a tier 6, tier 5, or something that was just particularly shiny. You had a rune that you wanted to protect, or any structure really, and this would be a good way to do it. So what I've gone and done is I've created a second teleport rune and a second automation designation with a 4 cobblestone signature, and I'm binding the two together. So I'm going to set the second teleporter to the second waypoint rune, and this is going to be our security measure. And just check that's working. Yeah, okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make every single block that comprises that teleport rune out of damage sensor blocks bound to the second teleporter rune. So essentially what will happen is a griefer will come up, smack the teleport rune with a tool to start stealing stuff, and hey presto, the second teleporter will activate. I'll just fast forward through this here. But the result of this will be that anyone trying to steal gets teleported to position B, waypoint 2, and anyone wanting to use a teleporter gets taken to destination A, waypoint 1. And whilst I was building this, I put yellow wool on the floor so I could keep track of where I was doing this, because I decided to use the persistence trick, which I just learned making this tutorial, in that if you form the rune without trigger block, it'll still work. As soon as you put in a trigger block into the space that it would have if you built the rune to include one from the start, then it will work as if it had always had one. So there are a variety of applications for that, such as teleporting someone into lava, dropping them somewhere in a jail made out of bedrock or something, or you could even have it so that the damage sensors link to the teleporter's waypoint A, so that even if they do try and steal the rune or otherwise damage it, they end up where they're supposed to be going if they'd used it. And it will automatically prevent them from stealing because they get teleported out of range of the block. When I was building these, I thought I'd use tier 3 material, in this particular case torches, because I find torches are particularly easy to come by compared to some of the other tier materials. I usually make my disposable runes out of tier 3 or tier 5 material, either torches or obsidian. So I've created my frame and filled in all the stone, and I'm just going to put in the gold blocks to activate the damage sensor. If you go up to it and use it, then you will end up at waypoint 1.
But if you whack it with a tool or with your fists, you'll end up at waypoint 2. So that pretty much concludes all the demonstrations of this thing being developed. There are a few ways you can beat it. The first and most crude and effective way is to TNT the gold teleport rune and pick up the blocks. The second way to do it is to find either waypoint 2 or teleport rune 2 and neutralize those so that the automation designator can actually work. So to round off this tutorial, I've got a friend in from the server to help demonstrate this working. She should be arriving any minute now. Aha! So I'll leave her to go nuts on that teleport rune whilst I see if she can manage to do anything against it. So I'll take the opportunity to say thank you, and I hope you guys found that particularly useful. If you guys like that and want more, do subscribe and like the video. Drop any comments for any feedback or requests for further tutorials, and I'll be glad to accommodate. I will see you guys for my next tutorial as soon as I can get it done. Cheers!